Yeah, just a continuation. So it was originally called to order at 2:50.
2:15.
2:15.
At the intersection of Valley Road as it comes.
You're all set.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is the 22nd of June, 2022. And this is the Waterloo Valley Select Board regular board meeting, continuation of the meeting that began at 2:15 with a little field trip out to Tecumseh Road to discuss the hopefully soon to be starting road repaving project. And I am Rich Rita, the chair. Here today is Margaret Turner, the vice chair, and Bob Freeze, who goes by the Bob Froze moniker in other places, is also here today. So we have a quorum, and shall we begin? Okay, privilege of the floor. It doesn't appear we have anybody here. Approval of minutes. This is, I think we're just waiting, Margaret, for you to.
Right.
And we're good to go on
Good to go.
the minutes. Were included in the packet, all the changes made.
Right, those are the ones that have Bob's and Rich's comments.
Right.
Those
So
ones
they
make-
were just comments from Margaret.
Which she.
No, which I responded. and
Oh, you
said I
did?
was fine
Okay.
with them.
Oh, you're fine.
And these
Okay,
are the
good.
ones from the 18th.
18th, I think. you're
Yeah,
correct,
I'm sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to
So
accept?
moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Financial update.
Yep, I included the sheet in your packet. If you have any questions, Steve can comment on them.
Just a little education for me. On the revenue side, I see we're about halfway in both the motor vehicle registrations and the permits. How do we figure out how much we thought we were going to get in revenues this year?
We were pretty close on motor vehicles this year to what we had, last year to what we had budgeted. So we utilized the last year's number, waiting for the August adjustment.
Yeah.
So,
We're right on track to almost where we were at the end of June last year. We're within probably
Right.
2.5.
So it looks like, I guess, that leads to my question. It looks like it's about the same as last year. It's going to be more or less, but you're saying the
About the same.
revenue is coming in so far at about the same last year, which was a
what was the highest year?
highest
ever?
year ever,
Yeah.
right?
So we're tracking
Yeah.
on budget.
Great.
Yep.
And permits, is it, how would you characterize them as compared to last year?
We are, I think, 40% higher than we were last year at the same time.
Interesting. So that's probably going to come in over budget potentially.
Yeah, we may adjust it in September.
And I did want to mention, I know it's something we briefly talked to the chair of the planning board about, Wendy Rathgeber, that they're very much expended already through the year with 75%, trying to get my columns. No, not 75, sorry.
They're at 94.
94%.
Yeah.
So as a heads up, Wendy's looking at it and see what, if anything, she may need to continue on for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
That may be coming our way.
the issue is going to be, we're wrapping up the master plan
Right,
work. The issue is going to be whether or not we have any zoning amendments for next town meeting. So she may need
a few, yeah,
a few thousand.
a few
more.
thousand more, and I think
To
there
get that
will be,
work done.
in discussions with her, I think we identified two or
The
three
true-
possible.
Yeah, the true balance in that line is $3,300
Remaining.
remaining for Tara to work on.
And this is
Town.
funds that have come in from developers. Are we still waiting on any, or
No,
So that's pretty much,
that's
3,300 is it?
correct. Yeah. For her to work on the master plan or in town related.
So in other
Right.
words, there's $2,500 that are invoices that are out there that haven't been paid.
Well, I don't think we are applying income to expense lines, so
Oh,
I just,
okay.
I believe that the revenue's already been collected and
Oh,
it may
all
be in another account.
Okay, so
Okay,
it
it's
may
not
be
showing
in
here.
miscellaneous,
Correct.
it may be in miscellaneous. income.
Revenue, yeah,
So it's not as dire as 94%, but it's still potentially another few thousand maybe needed to finish out. Well, we have enough to finish the master plan, I think. But there may be a few zoning amendments when we help.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have anything else in the budget.
Steve, I wonder if Steve has anything more to point out in financials.
well, just as, I think what everyone expects to see in terms of, our expenses trending upwards with respect to fuel and energy, utilities. We're looking at placing an order this week for diesel up at the pump station at Town Hall, and we've got a rate of $6.49 a gallon. Those tanks hold 2,000 gallons. We estimate that we need about 1,200 gallons currently. And gas is at $4.85 a gallon. So those diesel lines, we're trending to potentially, double what the budget.
Not unexpected, but
Yeah.
still a shock.
Right, which, may cause us to tap into that contingency budget. to
And how much we
support-
have left in that contingency? Should we even,
It's okay, I think we're at 15,000
still about 15
spent right now,
spent or remaining
spent,
spent?
but these are the,
150,000 in it.
correct,
Farther from.
yeah, but we don't want to, I think our goal is not to tap into that 100 if we don't have to, of course,
Yeah,
obviously,
we
so.
put the extra 100 in specifically because we thought fuel costs were gonna go up tremendously.
Correct.
Yeah, that was that.
Yeah.
Warrant article
Yeah.
change that we did, absolutely correct.
And then just an update on our capital projects, just Judy has been doing a great job cleaning up our chart of accounts for these capital projects. We created a new company in QuickBooks just to focus on these large projects. And what I wanted to highlight today is that we've spent 140,000 in engineering costs to date for the design phase part of the project. So 140 out of, I think, a total contract of 504 mark.
Yes.
This is on the wastewater treatment.
Water and, I'm sorry, I didn't catch this before. Water and sewer for first quarter, the revenues.
Yeah.
They're not in there.
Okay,
Okay, so it looks like the trash fees are in there, but
they might be in the wrong, I might have accounted for them in April
okay,
potentially, where I just need to flip them over to the quarter one line.
First quarter is supposed to April.
Yeah, that's what you're seeing there,
right, but then this doesn't reflect
Q2,
Q2.
correct.
So the warrant that they're gonna sign right now will be added to this.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're well above 50% for water, sewer, and trash
On the revenue side.
on the revenue side. Yeah. Probably closer to 60, but again. So we'll check that. But again, that's a number we can adjust
When we come to
in August.
in August.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to point out in the budget, Steve? Or any questions from the board?
No, I think I'm good.
I knew there was something that had to be missing because we're never so much percent for the year and have spent beyond that. We're usually okay at this point, even though it's close, but it's very close.
As we go through the summer, it's not going to be close.
Right.
We'll be well above the percent for the year.
Yeah.
One, I would like to just make one last comment and recognize Patrick, Chief Payer, for mitigating a muffler issue that we had in one of the cruisers. We got a quote of about $1,600 in to replace a muffler that Patrick was able to get fabricated so that we didn't have to incur the expense of a new muffler, and he was able to work with a welder.
He's just a nice guy.
To
I would highly
fix it for us.
recommend him to anybody. He was fantastic. So he did a really good job.
Yeah, kudos. $1,600 savings. We'll take it.
Excellent, thank you. You good on finances then? Okay, let us move on to department head reports. Steve, since you've already begun talking, anything else you'd like to add from the admin side?
I think that everything from an admin perspective that I have to talk about today is further along in the agenda, which when we talk about our
Okay,
Primex cap bills and the
very
the
good.
warrant that we have to sign. So I'm good.
Okay, David?
Just a few things. Our newest member, Cody McKay, will be starting firefighter one today, this evening in Bristol. The program's going to run through a couple days a week and some Saturdays, all the way through, was it in November? Till November. That's going to be in Bristol. So we're excited to get him into this class.
And where is he from, Dave?
He's originally lives up in the Littleton area. He came to us from the sheriff's office, over 10 years experience in law enforcement. Already had his EMT, and so he just needs to get his fire cert. And this was the first class that came up, and we put him in it. So it was kind of short notice, but we were able to get him in the class. Just been busy with inspections, between fire inspections and building sites. Like we said, we're doing a lot of building permits. I think we had another dozen in the last 2 weeks. Nothing major, just
Renovations.
mostly renovations. There was nothing new, but just a lot of stuff that just need to start following up on. Been spending a lot of time with our new firehouse software training and getting that built out before we go live with it. It's just a lot of tedious, data entry kind of stuff, and making sure we get it. So once that gets built out, I think looking at what's they offer as far as our building, as far as all our permitting goes, I think it's going to be a great platform to be able to keep track of that stuff. So I'm actually kind of excited for me administratively. It's going to be a big help. And also, it's got the hydrant portion. I was just speaking to Dylan. His guys can be able to track all of our hydrant infrastructure, specifically, do work orders and that sort of thing for each, for all that stuff. So probably going to be another month or two before we go live with it and get our people trained, but that's been sucking up a lot of my time also. We just had some radio reprogramming. The Grafton County Sheriff's Office went to a simulcast system, which basically means one channel, many different radio frequencies that talk to them, talk to them on one channel. And our repeater that's here at the station is part of that network. We used to have our own channel that we spoke to Grafton with. Now it's all one channel. And we had the Grafton County Sheriff's Office come in last week and reprogram our portables and our cruisers. The fire trucks couldn't get done because they didn't have a computer old enough to. So they are on a replacement program, but we'll have to
What, fire trucks or?
the fire truck radios.
Fire truck radios.
The fire truck radio. Other than that, I can defer to Pat.
Want me to go?
Sure.
That Dylan doesn't always bring good news, so. So this week, actually, I've got 2 attaboys, one for Jonah Riccio, just for helping a motorist that was stranded at the school. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and then.
This wasn't an EV situation, was it?
No, it was not.
Okay.
I won't bring those up even if it is. So he got from the attorney, I got an email, did a really good job of that. And then James Sullivan, I think his second shift all by himself, wrote a parking ticket and still got an attaboy from the gentleman that called me about it. So he was very professional, did a very good job, and was one of the best officers he's ever spoke to, so. They did a good job of hiring, I think, overall, so these
Sure sounds that
these
way.
people are truly good. Radar trailer, I want to let you guys know, we swapped that out on Fridays. It's down on 49 right now, but
Mhm.
every Friday, we're going to put a different location throughout the year. Tell residents if they ask, they can call and request, and we'll put it wherever they want. I didn't get you numbers last month.
No, we'll do them at the next meeting.
Yeah, well, what I'm gonna do is I don't have the numbers for it, so I'm gonna try to split it up. I was out sick with some kids and on vacation, so I didn't get May's numbers off the radar trailer. We got severely beat by the school on Monday, kickball. Kindergarten and 4th grade beat us, and the 5th and 8th beat us as well. Also, we had to give the trophy back this year, so. I think the only other thing is our calls. So this new system we have, the calls for service are coming in. We're about 4 a day right now, and that started in March. So we're starting to get more calls. So things are just picking up as more people. Any questions?
Any questions? Either of you, other select board members, have a preference of where the trailer may want to be placed anytime soon?
I've already had it on my.
I got it a while back, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm fine with it as well.
Just pick random spots and like I said, remind residents anywhere they want. We'll put it.
It was a good choice for last week with the motorcycles due to the moose activity. We had 2 accidents the prior weekend of winning the moose down by Fremont.
Oh,
So good on Pat to be proactive and warn the motorcycle riders that were here last weekend. There wasn't an accident last weekend, so I'm going to say we were successful.
we'll take it. Yeah, I wondered why it was down there. I thought maybe it had to do with all the construction vehicles.
Yeah, if you went over the speed limit and changed the, so it says Moose Crossing. So,
Oh, really?
so we've got it, have people who were coming into town to at least be aware of it. So, trying to be a little proactive.
I didn't know that. I guess I must have been going.
Yeah.
Or you were one, no.
Yeah, okay.
Going so fast.
Yeah.
Just said we
Yeah,
give
chance
up.
to read.
Wait, you had a radar trailer?
Yeah, right.
One question I wanted to ask you, David, was, I understand the ZBA approved a variance on a porch roof, was it? And as far as you guys are concerned, that's not a problem, just a setback issue.
No, not a problem, just a setback issue, and it actually wasn't even a roof when I measured it, it was actually to the actual porch corner, the roof wasn't even on the building yet. So, we're talking a matter of 9 inches.
On a 20-foot setback.
Yeah, on a 20-foot setback. So,
And it wasn't a variance. It
Oh,
was
okay.
an
Equitable.
equitable dimensional waiver,
Okay. I've
which
never
is
heard of that.
different.
Yeah.
It is, it's a
Why-
separate thing, so there's no variance because that's permanent, goes with the land.
Right.
This is just, has to do with specifically with the 9 inches that it was allowed, that the building is going to be allowed to go into the setback. So it's just a different approval process. But technically it's not a variance.
no, permanently.
So if someone were to remove that,
Then they would have a conforming house and they would,
Right.
so they didn't have
They
to
would be-
grant a variance that
Right.
would be
continue
permanent
on.
with that land.
Okay, interesting. Never heard of
And
that
I
before.
thank the chairman of the ZBA for noticing that, and she got the applicant to agree to the different approval process
Right,
so that they didn't have to grant a variance.
and that was Gene.
Yeah, Gina identified it.
Excellent. Okay, let's see, Jim.
You may have had last week some comments that we were a little tardy picking up the dumpsters around town. That's because the truck was down for a couple of days. The hoist cable, we had to replace the hoist cable. So, and that took a couple of days, not for us to do it, but to get the cable on hand. So we will have a spare cable on hand. So, that particular one wore out a lot sooner than they have in the past. So. But at any rate, guys are going around town. We're picking out certain culverts and culvert headers and ditch lines to fix.
Yeah, I saw that it snowed.
And snows, that one is a perennial problem, well, several times a year problem, so. The problem there is that flow out of the pond on that residence, when it overflows, when it rains really hard, that pipe is actually too small. So whenever we
Backs up.
decide to do something with that road, that will get upsized for sure.
Where's that?
That is just past the croquet,
On the left. as you
On the
go
left.
up, There's
yeah, the croquet lawn on the left.
a little stream.
And
coming
it's
out of the
down
pond.
in, yeah.
It's the
So,
one that feeds the pond before the sixth hole.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And that often floods onto those tennis courts too. Right?
Yeah, well, that's
We want to upsize the culvert so that hopefully that
flooding
flooding.
may
is
fix that as well.
mitigated, yeah.
What were you doing in front of the golf shop?
We remember a few weeks ago, we replaced that cross pipe.
Yeah.
And we were replacing the header. We talked with Craig, and he wanted to be able to mow over it, so instead of rebuilding the header with mortar and stone and everything, we did a sloping header, if you will, and we put loam over the top of it, so he'd easily be able to maintain it. So we did that. Started, I know Dylan may mention it, but Brad has been inventorying fire hydrants, going around inspecting them. And we've started to repaint the ones that need to be repainted. And
Repairing the ones that need.
repairing the ones that we have repair kits. We have some in hand and some on order. And I'm just trying to think, other than that, we had our transfer station inspection from DES today.
How often do they?
Well, I seem to remember them being here back in like 14, but I was told he only had a record of 2010. And I think we were inspected, because I started in 2010, and I know we were inspected back then, but I seem to remember being inspected again, but never receiving a report. It's kind of like the dams being inspected and you never received a report from them. But at any rate, we'll wait and see what his comments are. Generally, he thought the place was neat and clean. We had almost everything that we needed to have posted. Signs look good. Everything was good. So. But we'll see what his comments are.
And they have enforcement power if there's something they don't
Yes.
like about
Yes, they do.
transfer facility.
It's a licensed facility.
It's actually.
They're not too pushy. If we get it, yeah, we get any deficiencies, it'll be easy.
He didn't identify any deficiencies to you.
The only deficiency that he identified, deficiencies that he identified to me were, but they weren't, some of them were not marked down, like we didn't have our certifications posted up at the transfer station. They were posted down at the bottom, which
You're
is,
at town hall.
and I mean, it just little things. He said, just make photocopies, put them up there, I won't write you up for it. I mean, so, and then the only other thing is, our permit, which I never realized, does not have it, the box for MSW, for receiving MSW, for receiving garbage, the box is not checked on our permit, and,
Okay.
the permit is how old? And so, so he has to go back and he's gonna talk with permitting to see if we have to rewrite the permit or not, because it's a gray area.
Well,
That
don't
open a
forget,
can of worms, or-
well, don't forget, we've expanded the number of dumpsters. We never, Central used to be 2 dumpsters inside an enclosure down by the wastewater treatment plant. Years ago.
Yeah, no, I never knew that.
So
Third thing.
we, 2009, when we built the Public Works garage, was when we put that line of dumpsters there. Because we had so many, those dumpsters were always overflowing. They couldn't keep up with just the 2. So I think we started with 6 and now we're up to 9. So it's, it's never been a transfer station receiving solid waste.
I see, there was the dumpsters
There
out
was
of
the
town.
dumpsters, that's right,
Permanent.
that's right. Well, they don't have
They
to
don't
be
have to
permanent.
be.
Oh,
If
okay.
they're out of way, so if you have a central collection facility,
Then you
it
have to
needs
list
to be
what you-
part of your transfer station permit.
Okay.
So I never realized that it wasn't checked.
He didn't, it's not like we're gonna be fined or anything, that I'm aware of, but, I just point that out because it was a head scratcher for him, so.
It could complicate things, but we'll see.
Well, we are putting in a new interim transfer station, so
He was made aware of that. So, and we'll have to go through a permitting process for that.
how about the new employee? Has he started?
The new employee is scheduled to start on Monday.
Monday, excellent. Hopefully we can hold on to this mechanic a little longer.
Mhm.
Well, he'll have some work to do.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Jim. Yep. Dylan, trying to hide back there?
All good news today. Penta was at the plant yesterday, they spent the day there, and then they finished everything up this morning, which came in under budget, then to reconnect everything to the water removal reactors. So those are back online, make sure we started them up, put flow through them, make sure there's no leaks or any issues with them. So everything's good there. And then just to elaborate a little bit on something Mark mentioned yesterday, I was able to put in for a federal grant for a automatic sampler that's rated anywhere from -30°C to 50°C. It's refrigerated and heated, so it can be stored outside. So this is a piece of equipment that can come with a warranty, no cost to the town at all. That was directed at small water and wastewater utilities, and it was only 225 communities that were eligible for it, and we were one of them. So that was a nice grab for us anyway, because they're not cheap. And luckily, I mean, I think the bad news about that is we're gonna need to buy another one with the new facility regardless. We're gonna need to influence and have one sampler. But this will be one of them, so we don't have to buy 2. Right. So that's all. I mean, other than Jim mentioned, Brad's been going around doing inventory of hydrants, as well as inventory of manholes and structures to see what we need to do to replace some deficiencies in those structures and bring them up back up to grade as well. So we're working on getting the parts list. We also completed the consumer confidence report for drinking water side, and that was posted, I believe, on Sharon. Correct me if I'm wrong, was that posted on the website today?
I posted on the website.
So that is available for anybody to review that.
That included in the mailers?
Yes, that there's gonna be a directions to the link
Willing to
access it.
It's a
And the state-
1/3 page insert.
Yeah.
Right.
The state of New Hampshire requires us to send out some sort of a mailer to
Right.
the users of the system.
I mean, we get it once a year, I remember seeing. it.
Correct. So it's either send out the whole CCR to
Right,
people or
that's
send
what I
out the
remember
link,
seeing.
which is much more cost effective.
Just directly to the link, absolutely, it's pretty. Mark, anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, just a calendar issue that we've noted today, 4th of July fireworks have fallen through with Atlas.
Oh, what happened?
We called in January when we were doing the budget to get the budget number. And somehow we called today to, do our final verification and get times for them to come in, and we're not on their schedule.
How many years have we been with them?
30,
And
I don't know how it happened. So we, the only option, we did ask them to check. Like everybody else, they're short of people. So they cannot add us to the list for the 4th. So the only option that we have right now, they have an opening on the 5th. If we want to do that. I have not talked to any of the business
I was
community.
thinking of Craig, but he's not doing it.
He's not doing it
He's not
he
doing it
decided
this year,
not to
right? I
do it.
remember he said that.
this year. He said that, I think. Yeah.
He
so
had mentioned
he's
that he
not
wasn't
doing it.
gonna do it. but-
Yeah. So
what day of the week is the 4th?
the 4th is a Monday.
Monday, so it'll be a
And so
Tuesday.
the Tuesday would be the 5th. Otherwise, we won't have. They don't have anything Saturday, Sunday. And then they don't have anything else.
And they're the only company.
At this point in time, not having any relationship with any other company, I can't, we will check around, but I can't imagine that there's another fireworks company.
Who's our old friend that used to do? Is it Tom Hoyt? Is it Tom Hoyt?
No, yeah, but Tom was working with Atlas,
Uh-huh.
so
Oh,
they were always providing the show. He just fired it for them.
Doesn't bother me.
That we don't have it.
Well,
Not crazy
I
about
need we need to notify the business community as soon as we can, because I believe we're on all the marketing.
Right,
Sure.
fireworks.
Uh, So,
Well, the question in front of us right now then is, do we want to take the 5th? Since you can presumably pick up the phone and,
we can pick up the phone. She's waiting to hear from us.
same cost,
Actually, it's less than our budgeted amount. And actually, it's about half of what it would cost us if we did the 4th of July.
well, let's get next year cemented in.
Yes, we will.
I think people like the celebration,
Mhm.
and I just go ahead and do the 5th for this year.
Okay, we'll go with Bob.
I can go either way, I don't get, yeah.
All right, let's go with the 5th.
Yeah,
All right. We'll,
Assuming that's gonna work,
She told me it was, she told me she had the staff available and. it
how about you
was-
guys? I mean, DPS.
We'll adjust accordingly, so. yeah.
I mean, I don't think, looking at occupancy, that's a pretty big week all week, so.
With the holiday on a Monday,
Yeah.
presumably people are taking, and they're gonna hang
No,
around on
yeah.
the 4th anyway, so.
Yeah.
Some percentage will be hanging around on the 5th and the rest of the week.
And we may be getting more people from around the area as well. So if we can get it out there marketed,
As the 5th,
told as the 5th,
Right.
we'll use social media, regular outlets.
are you informed that
Yes, I
Resort
will call
Association.
Tom, I'll call Tom Grossman.
We focus on a media campaign, but change the date.
change Independence Day.
There's gotta be something.
Well, you know, we're
patriotic to
changing,
have.
as a country, we're changing everything, so why not just change it to July?
Something in patriotic month that happened on July
Something.
5th, 240.
So we do it at dark, like 7, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it'll be about 9:15 or so, I think, is what we usually file out.
The usual 40-minute, 45.
Yeah, half hour. All right,
Okay, shall we move on to calendar review then? So our next meeting is the 13th at 3 p.m. And planning board's the following day at 8 a.m. I'd like to find out from the board which one of the dates listed on our agenda would be good to have a joint school board select board. I can bring it up to the school board tomorrow, I believe is their next meeting, and they've already said they're amenable to having a joint meeting
in the summer.
in the summer, and I was thinking like at 2 and like an hour before our.
I actually think it's an agenda item for the school board
It is on the, I haven't seen
tomorrow to talk about these 4 dates, because I've shared them with Mike
it.
Fergal.
Okay,
So it'll be good to know if any of
What
you
dates we
are not available.
prefer, right, or what
Yeah.
works for us.
Yeah.
Right. We can do that. So let's see, we've got 7.
6.
6, 7, 2. So basically the 2 days in July and 2 days in August. I
All of
can,
those look fine to
I'm
me.
fine
right
with
now.
all of those.
Yeah, I think.
All right, so we'll,
The
so we just
sooner
leave
the
it.
better.
Yeah, I
Because, you
agree
know,
with
when they
that.
get into
Yeah.
August, they're
Exactly.
starting
Right.
to work on,
Right.
you know,
Sure.
the next coming school year and.
All right, well, we'll present it that way. All 4 are good, but we prefer sooner, so.
Yeah. Okay,
6 or 13 July would be our preference.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll forget that to them.
6 or 20.
I'm sorry.
6 or 20.
6 or 20.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. And also the run for the fallen, I understand the date has been.
Yeah, the date's been set
Selected.
for September 24th. It's a Saturday. And I started working, we'll have to have a staff meeting with the resort to just lock in. They'd love to do exactly what they did last year. And the only thing that they're asking, and we're hoping for this year is a little more participation by the elementary school children. So we'll bring that up. I was thinking about mentioning it tomorrow at the school board meeting. And then
Good idea.
being on the 24th, that's almost a month after school start, or yeah, after the start of school. So that should give them plenty of time to plan some participation with kids.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of dates, how about the date for the next visit to the?
Yeah, what's your schedule look like? I can do any day on those 2 weeks. Are there any limits on your schedules?
I have physical therapy on both those Mondays, but
Okay.
I can cancel one of those. I don't be
Well, I think probably for the plant, a Monday wouldn't be good anyway. So we'll just plan it Tuesday through Friday for one of those weeks. Is that okay with you, Margaret?
Only thing I see is that I can't do Thursday, the 14th,
Okay,
and morning and Friday, I'm actually out of here. I'm leaving on Friday.
15.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
14th and 15th are not good. And I will get back from that trip on the 20th.
Okay.
So the 18th and 19th are not good either.
Okay,
Gee, if it can be in the morning, that would be great.
Would it be a full day? Are you gonna try to get both plants in?
well, I was gonna try to do that, but you'd rather do just the morning?
Yeah,
All right, so we'll try to do 2 days. That way you don't have to go up to Whitefield we can just do one day to go to Plymouth.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
so I'll try to set them up both for the mornings.
During that 2 week period.
Yeah.
2 separate days in the morning. Yeah, I'm good any of those days.
Yeah, I would just mention that the reason that I'm going to be away is that somewhat long-term residents and former neighbors, the Wasilewskis, Pat passed away.
Um,
And they are having a commitment ceremony at the US Naval Academy on the
awesome.
18th.
Very nice.
And I got an invitation from Marlene, so I'm going to go down for
Good.
that.
I assume everybody knows too of Broomline.
Yeah, he passed away. I heard that.
No.
last week.
Is
Is there any, did he have any services or anything? I didn't see
Pardon me?
anything. Services or anything?
There's nothing planned yet.
Okay. Is Susan, were they still around this?
Yeah,
area?
they're in the development,
Down in Campton. right?
the lake, whatever it's called, pond.
Oh, the
Pond
overlook.
view.
Village pond.
Pond view,
Yeah.
overlook,
Village pond,
whatever.
whatever it is.
Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, we'll just have to keep that in. Try to find out when that service is.
When I talked to her, I said, would he be buried in the Waterville Cemetery? And she said, oh, could he? And I said, of course,
Sure.
I've lived here for 30 years.
Yeah.
So
She
I said, if you
she
want
hasn't
to.
reached out to us. Yet, has she?
Not that
Okay.
I haven't spoken to.
Well, we'll, if you can just have her give us a call. And,
I told her if she needed me to do anything, I would.
okay. Yeah.
We good then on calendar? Okay, on to new business, tour to town core update. Okay, there are a couple items here. One is I attended the working group last meeting, was it last week? And a big chunk of the discussion was about the Levitt Loop, and specifically the bridge over the Snows Brook flow into Corcoran Pond, and what, if anything, we can do to start moving on that project, even though Levitt Loop itself is going to be delayed, I think, for several years, or at least I think, because of the construction going on, with Tyrell plans and issues of town-owned property and non-specific easement as to where they're going to put the construction, et cetera, et cetera. The group did think it would be a good idea to see what we needed to do to get moving on getting a bridge across that area. So, Mark, I think you were there for the meeting, or at least part of the meeting. I also think you got an email from
Yeah,
James
and I
about this. It was
included it in the
included.
packet.
Did you talk to him about that email?
I have not talked to
And-
him about it yet.
About it, but,
Just get a little
what's-
feedback from you.
Okay, what was your,
Well, I
concerning
went
his
to the
question?
website, and just looked, though that company may be one of the companies that provided us with bids on the pedestrian bridge replacement. Because the bridges on that website look exactly like the one that we put in after Irene,
I mean, down on Mad River,
off the Mad River Trail,
on going across Snows
going
Brook,
across
or the
the
actual
mount,
river?
across the river.
The river, so the
across
long,
river,
so
The long
the long one.
So they look, if they're exactly the same type of structure, and they'll take the same type of headers in order to get them to go across. So we definitely can get them permitted, but the engineering is going to be very expensive,
Right,
and, there will be a DES permit for it.
issue.
And the bridge itself will, back in 2011, 12, was about $300,000 all in with engineering. So it's not inexpensive.
For that little,
For that
It's probably
bridge,
$500,000
$500,000.
total with
I
engineering.
would, with engineering, I wouldn't be surprised. $500,000.
and I assume he asked the question if we had any engineering funds available now to plan. I assume the
Not
answer
to
was
that
no.
level,
Right.
not to that level. The engineering took 6 months, right? And that was with,
Well, all the money on that, all the money on that bridge is, you can't say, it's in the above.
right, but the same thing is gonna be true.
You're
by
gonna have
Snow's
to,
Brook.
they're
You're gonna
gonna,
build,
DES is gonna make you build abutments, just like that. And
What about the idea I think you raised of the cantilever bridge
well, then,
off the?
then we don't have to get it permitted.
well, we own the bridge.
We own the bridge. And there's no, I don't see any DES permit for it. The bridge is
To
already.
do what, hang it off?
Well, we do it like West Branch Road Bridge, where we actually cantilever it, attach it right
A
to
walkway.
the existing bridge. The good thing about that is you could potentially take the sidewalk out and widen the bridge surface, the deck.
Mhm.
Because you can take the sidewalk and put it out to
Basically.
the cantilever
moving out,
portion
Right,
and then bring it back into the sidewalk.
side.
on the other
And then
side.
there will be like steps found.
Well, it's whatever they would, yeah, whatever they would want, but the problem that we're gonna have is ADA accessibility.
they still have to get up.
They've gotta get up to the cantilever portion, and that's not, by the time you do the slope, you're gonna be a quarter of a mile run on the trail, right? Because the pitch of the trail is gonna have to be ADA compliant.
And still being able to go under the underpass there.
And Terrell owns the land on either side.
No, actually, the town owns the land for a portion
Where
of
the abutment would
Valley
go
Road,
on
where
either
the
side.
abutment goes. Yeah. So it's not inexpensive. That
Even,
would
even
be-
that.
Yeah, and the cantilevered, probably less, but who knows these days.
You'd be better off with the abutments and then you could literally park a crane on top and lower the bridge down onto the abutment. But that would make it easier for ADA compliance.
That's going to be our tricky. And even with the abutments, we're gonna have long runs out to either side, maybe switchbacks or.
Because they're gonna determine, DES will determine at what height the bottom of the bridge has to be.
If you remember, SE Group did a conceptual and they had actually switchbacks to get the correct percentage for ADA. The path actually went up the banking
Right.
and then crossed, right?
What's the plan, if there is one, around the edge of the pond to connect to that?
There's no set plan, nothing is drawn up yet.
I mean, in my mind, it would be like a boardwalk that goes all around the
That's
whole
something that-
pond, rather than going inland and then eventually coming to the bridge. I mean,
That
that's
was
just
mentioned, I think, at the town core working group, at least portions of it.
The issue with the boardwalk is you're gonna have to get up to the bridge. If you try to use the boardwalk to cross directly across Snows Brook, you're still gonna be walking up because that bridge is gonna have to be pretty high for the flood conditions. I don't know what it would look terrible. There's really no good way, because the mouth of the stream opens up so much that we're gonna be very limited. We need an engineer to come in and give us the
Some
options,
options.
and we're gonna need to pay for that. I would think that we would want a very good design and a few options for what we could do. But that's that's
Before we
gonna
even go
cost.
to DES.
Before we even go to DES and, get a bridge engineer to come in
Right.
and tell us what we can and can't do.
I wonder if you could do anything that, with flood conditions, you pull it back. So it's almost a temporary bridge that in good weather, it's there, and then in bad weather, flood kind of conditions, it's not there.
Well, some of the options, and then we can ask DES, but given we asked about different options for the bridge, I mean, the dam repair project that we did. And one of the things was a manual opening device where we would have better control of the flow. They wouldn't let us do that. They always engineer it for the worst case scenario where you don't actually activate the device. So I'm just saying that a bridge that would be moved, I don't think they'd allow it because they'll engineer it to, well, you don't have time to move it out of the way.
We
You know,
might
we
have
know
a
when it's
drawbridge or
raining.
something, right?
No, yeah, but
Pull it
I
out.
agree, that would make sense, but they don't give you credit for having a plan to activate it
Right,
so that you can get it out of the
and
way.
it's the same problem we have with the bridge down here, this part of Stony Brook, it's just a little pedestrian bridge. And
Right,
we don't
exactly.
care, quote unquote, if it's necessarily, if it's washed away,
Right. Well, and it was just like the Mad River Trail Bridge,
right?
right? We said, okay, we'll just put a little footbridge in like we had before. No, you can't do that. So,
Right, trucks over that bridge.
I've been on some golf courses where they have like pontoon bridges
mhm.
that golf carts go across.
Yeah, like a Bailey Bridge.
Bailey Bridge, all of those are, we can do it. The problem is they're gonna make us put it up really high because of the flood stage. And they're gonna make us build abutments.
We don't have any money to do it anyway, so.
No, well, this does raise the question, this is something that the town code working group could work on is, there is a trail that goes around, you just have to go a little further, you take the Pond Loop Trail
Right.
behind Waterville Estates and come out by the athletic club and then come back into the pond
Mhm.
that way, so I mean, that would be the inexpensive Pond Loop portion, it just takes you off the pond for a section of it.
Mhm.
And you don't deal with DES and you don't deal with
It's
a
existing.
500,000, it's existing. They want to. Gussy it up a little, I don't know, well, we're gonna do that anyway with signs, but we were talking about signs and directing
Sure.
people that way. The other, the other thought on bridges was that, well, if we're gonna talk to DES about a possible bridge there, why not re-engage on a bridge down here? That, see where they stand now on allowing us to build a small pedestrian bridge across Snows Brook.
Behind the snow hill.
Yeah.
Is there also a possibility of creating a trail that goes up from the existing trail to the sidewalk and you take the sidewalk
Yeah.
over and you take a trail
Yeah.
down?
The only problem is when we build that is the ADA compliance and the length
Of the
that
run.
that has to go. Because you can only have a very limited pitch to that.
Mhm, mhm.
But if we, I mean, as long as we don't mess with drainage on Valley Road, we should be good to go.
We'd have to have them to do that.
But again, that's a lot less expensive than building a bridge.
Yeah.
For sure.
Who's on the town crew?
Well, my next question was that I think in the past, Mike Aronson, as a select board member, was on the town board working group when they were discussing these things, and then we'll bring these to the select board for further discussion and feedback going back to the working group. So I wanted to raise the possibility of a member of this board.
Who's on it now?
No,
No,
From
not,
the
no.
board.
No, I mean,
No, Wendy is.
Oh,
Wendy's,
Nancy Knight,
and
Tim Smith,
Tom Gross.
Tom Gross,
Um,
James Sununu, and Mike was supposed to be kind of the pseudo select
He
board
was- he
point
said,
of
I think,
contact,
Right,
but
that but
he hasn't been able to attend.
they meet once a month.
They want to get onto a regular once a month schedule.
I'll be glad to do it as long as I'm here, you know, it's.
Right, well, perhaps you can be the,
yeah,
you know, line Bob being the second or the.
sure.
Okay,
Okay, so put us both on the notice and.
Yeah.
We'll coordinate.
One of the two
Try
of
and
you.
make sure one of us is there.
Your mission is to, as soon as you accept it, is get across in there.
Yeah.
On a little loop whenever it comes to reality. Okay, some bond documents. we need
Well,
to-
yeah, can we skip
Oh, sure.
down and talk about F and G so that,
Sure, let's do that. Okay, this is the Juneteenth federal holiday recognition and a related issue with that, the noise ordinance review. You want to look at the personnel policy part of it first?
sure.
Okay.
Mark, do we have any other? Like, do people have sick days?
Yes, we have sick days and regular vacation days on top of these holidays.
But these are the only personal days.
These are the only person.
Everything else, like if they're off. It'd be sick.
It's
or
vacation. Correct.
I read it over and I think we ought to be consistent and say it's a holiday like those other ones that we allow people to do optional, whether it's Columbus Day or Veterans Day or was Veterans Day one.
Yes, Veterans Day.
So
is
make it
one
a
of our
personal
slogans.
day.
Yeah.
So
make it
it'll be a
personal
floating
day.
holiday.
But, however, the day after Thanksgiving isn't really a holiday.
Well,
So we recognize personal days for 5 holidays. Of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 holidays, and then we recognize one for the day after Thanksgiving, which isn't actually.
actually, I saw that too, and I checked, it's a state holiday, right? So there are, according to what I read online, it
New
is
Hampshire State.
New Hampshire state holiday, there are 10 of them.
Okay,
And that is one of the 10. They have 9 of them are federal holidays. And they do not, the state of New Hampshire does not recognize 2 federal holidays. Columbus Day and, did I write it down here? And now Juneteenth. So federal holidays that exist now, there are 11 total.
Mhm.
State holidays, does not include the day after Thanksgiving. State holidays are 10, including the day after Thanksgiving, but not including 2 federal. So what if we change the policy to reflect the state recognize our state holidays? In terms of our personnel manual, and then work the personal days from there. So in other words, it would be included as a holiday because the state recognizes it as a holiday. So it would be included as a holiday for town employees as
Juneteenth.
well. No, the day after Thanksgiving.
But then what do you do about Columbus Day, the other 2 that they don't recognize?
Well, then that's what we would open for discussion, I think. But if you fix it to the state, at least you're
Well, if you fix it to the state, then you're not doing Columbus Day.
You're not doing Juneteenth.
or Columbus Day, but you're still getting 10 days. But the state has 10, the federal government has 11.
Right now, we have 11. We have 6 holidays and we have 5 personal days right now.
the
We
question was, do we add the 12th day?
Right. But we could do that too by recognizing 12, and we can make that additional day now. I'm not arguing against it, I'm just saying that would it make more sense to have the town recognized holidays reflect state recognized holidays?
No, because you're not doing that, because you're not.
Well, no, just as a default position. And then we add what we have, or subtract whatever we want to add or subtract.
And then why do you even say anything about the state? If you can change it from what the state does. so
What's the basis then? What's the basis for the holiday?
Well, I feel like part of the basis is the fact that we have a full-time employee who operates the CPU, our post office.
Mhm.
She follows the federal holidays for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Because she can't work on days that they're not open.
True.
So to make it equitable for the rest of the town employees,
Okay.
I feel as though.
I understand that, but that's kind of the tail wagging the dog in my mind.
Yeah, well, the other reason behind it was that basically we have, some of these holidays are like midweek
And
holidays.
we need people.
And we
Right.
needed to have people
And that's
here,
why we had
and
the person.
there were some.
Well, there's also President's Day,
Right,
which is one of our busiest
Right.
times in the valley.
Right.
So there's already public safety and public works folks who aren't getting those days off. So, I mean, they'll, because we're operating
Mhm.
during those periods. So the MLK and the President's Day
are busy.
holidays.
And that's why we made them personal.
Right, and that's
days,
why we
as
made them
manual.
personal. And so that's where these five personal days came from.
Right, so they could choose,
Yeah, they can choose.
but they would still end up with the federal.
Generally, we close the office because there's no banking, there's no post office, there's no state offices open on that day. So administratively,
Right,
that staff can take those days
Sure.
off.
and as a general principle, neither the federal government, i.e. Congress, or the state has the power to tell businesses.
No, and they're not
Right.
telling us.
Those are just applicable to federal.
Right.
Federal or state institutions or employees.
Right.
Or federally controlled property.
Yeah.
So,
I just think that Juneteenth kind of falls in the same category of the majority of days in which we give personal days. It's gonna be another one of those holidays that can fall in the middle of the week, because I think they're gonna stick with June 19th, correct?
No, they observed it Monday.
No, it moved, it's a floating,
It's a floating.
it's a floating.
Yeah,
It
so,
has a
so what they
specific day.
do is it's the Monday closest to June 19th
Okay.
is what's gonna be observed.
I don't disagree with that, Margaret. I'm trying to get at what Bob was saying is that we're adding, we're not following the federal calendar because we're adding day after Thanksgiving, which is not a federal holiday.
Right. So in my mind, we either just add June 19th and we have an extra 6 personal days. Or we take out our reference to the day after Thanksgiving with June 19th. In place of that. Just whether we're gonna give an extra day or not, that's, to me, those. Because to me, the day after Thanksgiving doesn't follow that.
It follows the state recognized holidays, but not federal recognized holidays. That's the point I was trying to make. That's why I was wondering if we shifted to that, it would make more sense.
Is there a recommendation in America?
Steve?
I just, yeah, it's really your preference from a policy standpoint. Our folks are working most of the holiday periods anyway. We're in the resort business when you come right down to it.
My preference would be just to add it, and I would like to see Juneteenth actually listed in our
Okay.
personal policies,
And I would agree with that,
the personal days, yeah.
but my only point is, and then we don't follow anybody, we're not following neither the state nor the federal.
It's a combination.
It's a combination, 11 are federal and 1 is the state.
And we follow whatever makes sense for the town, basically,
Okay.
given the conditions that. we
So
have.
add a 6 personal.
But I would add the 6 personal.
We'll come up with language. There's an adoption process that you should follow.
For recognition.
Policy.
Yeah, and I noticed we call, I think what everybody calls Martin Luther King Day Civil Rights.
Yes, civil
Rights
rights.
Day. Civil Rights Day.
But isn't it actually Martin Luther King?
No,
No,
no.
it changed over,
They changed it,
They did.
yes.
Surprise.
which we gotta look at that also, because I'm noticing there's both civil rights day and MLK. on there.
Whichever
So
one is the correct one.
let's see what's correct, because this may be moot, because we may have been double counting the same holiday. But we'll look into that,
Okay.
and we'll change the language appropriately to add Juneteenth.
Right.
Okay,
Is Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples' Day in New Hampshire?
I don't know what it is.
No,
right
it's
now.
not, it's nothing in New Hampshire. There is no.
It's not
official-
recognized.
It's not recognized as a holiday, neither that nor presumably they're gonna get around to Juneteenth, but they haven't in a year, it's been a year, right? Although, is this the first year it's been recognized, or?
Yes.
Yes, this is
So,
the first.
the question is, when will New Hampshire potentially join that?
2040.
Yeah,
And with respect to the noise ordinance, it's a federal holiday.
well, it's a bit more complicated.
Why?
Well, because we've never
Forced.
really enforced that, and it is an issue if you're taking, obviously, there's the 4th of July, a contractor's not gonna work. Maybe they're not gonna work Memorial Day, and maybe, although more and more people are working on those days. They're probably gonna take Labor Day off. You know,
The other days.
but there are other
construction season,
days with construction season.
And we had a complaint
And then we had a
on
complaint.
Mondays, since it was a
on
federal
Juneteenth.
holiday.
Well, but I did notice when I was out playing golf on Monday that they weren't working at the buildings at Green Peak.
Well, that
I
was
guess it
their-
was noticeable
Yeah.
that there was nobody there. I
Yeah.
maybe saw one guy who was
Yeah.
doing something late in the
Well,
afternoon.
there was a
For most of the
complaint,
day, I
and-
saw
But we
no
did
one
get a
there.
complaint.
And if
So-
there was somebody working, the resident who complained was absolutely correct.
Yes.
Because it is a federal holiday,
Yeah,
and
it's a
that's what we
national
say.
holiday.
We say federal holiday, and it gets to my point about state and all this kind of state holiday and all this, but, David, or, okay,
I addressed this because this was the first time June 10th. So I was mistaken, and I didn't enforce anything on Juneteenth because it was the first time it came around, and we had a complaint. And I didn't initially know how to handle it because this is the first time we had dealt with it, so.
in the town. didn't
I
recognize it.
kind of wanted to get some clarification from you moving forward of, you know, all these other holidays, the way that it's written in the ordinance.
Yeah,
says
because you're gonna be
federal
stopping people from working
Columbus Day
Columbus
is a
Day,
federal holiday.
you know, maybe
Um,
if they come in on
Juneteenth.
Labor Day, or if they come in, not that they're gonna, the majors, they're gonna take off.
Potentially
but
Veterans Day.
Veterans
I mean, there are
Day,
5 or 6 that fall in the
right,
period, you know,
Right.
quote unquote
Well,
construction.
I think we just have to tell the contractors
okay,
to follow, you know.
okay.
What do you think?
I mean,
I
when
guess-
somebody comes in
Um,
and start working, give them a list of the federal holidays and say, these are the days plus Sundays in which you can't work.
You could go the other way and just
Which would
take
be-
federal holidays out of the noise ordinance.
No, they can work though, correct?
They can
They
work
can
as long as.
work
the-
as
so
long
it's
as-
just- what's the
They
exact
can-
language? I don't know. What's the
but it-
unreasonable?
Unreasonable amount.
Unreasonable
but you-
amount, but reasonableness requires both parties to be reasonable.
Yeah, but you have to define it.
No, you don't have to define it. It's if they get it, if they, the way
Fine.
we've always handled it,
What if the complaint's unreasonable?
well,
It's up
if
to
you work
Discretion on.
discretion on the officers. And that's the way we've done it, is if we get a complaint, you can work. We get a complaint, you're gonna be shut down. And that's the way we've always
We've done that
done.
on Sundays forever.
Yeah.
I've got a couple
Yeah.
since I started working here, and it's, have they been excessive? Sometimes no, but our policy says none at all on Sunday. Or it says unreasonable.
Unreasonable.
Reasonable amount.
I mean, if it's bothering somebody, we've always gone.
So technically, a contractor can work on the 4th of July if they want. They can
Correct.
be inside, they can,
And
as
if it's
long as they're
inside,
not bothering you.
I'm thinking more of the outside
Yeah.
construction
Right.
during construction season, so.
Well, that's what I.
Well,
was
these are the two
thinking.
extremes.
I was. Just not, I don't know, I did. If you're building a deck and you're using an air nailer or and a hammer, or and you're putting nails in, or you're screwing. Is it reasonable to expect that you were gonna make noise?
The person who lives next to where you put in.
No, I
complains,
get it, but that's why I brought up.
You're shut down.
Define it.
They would,
And it's gonna
But
be
on that day,
discretion
if
on
the
the
electrician wants to go inside and.
that's always
Some
been,
things
that's
are
always
plumbing
been
or-
allowed.
Yeah,
But I mean, we're gonna have to be consistent then. That means if we get a complaint on Memorial Day or
Well, our
Columbus
problems are
Day.
the and Dave addressed that this week, our complaints are coming after the fact. You can't do anything if you complain at 8:30 about something that happened at 7:40. Because when the officer gets there, well, it's perfectly fine to be working at that hour and it's not unreasonable.
Right.
So we keep
But in
expressing.
this
But in this
case,
case,
it's
it
like a
wasn't.
Sunday.
Well,
Because it was a
exactly. This
federal
case,
holiday.
It's like it's not allowed at all. So any complaint potentially shut down holidays that we recognize that others do.
I
State of
just
New
think-
Hampshire does not.
Yeah, and maybe we don't make the exact decision today, but we need to be more aware of it because we have a lot more activity
Well, that's.
going on
my
around
concern.
town. And so
Think about it.
right now, this would be what is in effect until you changed it anyway, right? So, and it needs to go to town meeting, so this is gonna be the rule
So
until
let's think about it.
March. So you can think about whether or not we wanna take it out or how we wanna make any changes.
Folks good with that? Continue the discussion.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, but
We can
you've got what
recess
you
to
need,
move
right?
point.
Yeah, well, as long as we're consistent. I'm just
It
looking
says
at-
federal holiday, so.
Federal holiday, they can't work right now.
Unreasonable.
Unreasonable, sorry,
noise.
they cannot make unreasonable noise, I take that back. It can work if it's not.
We may want to, I mean, between now and town meeting, were we to make any changes, we may want to put something out to all the construction companies here. I mean,
I can follow up with the current ones.
okay,
Verbally
verbally,
or
or
any of the new construction stuff, I can do that. Like I did with the ordinance, reminder letter.
And basically, unreasonable, they asked what unreasonable is, it said,
some
you know, if we
complaints.
get a complaint that somebody thinks it's too noisy.
Yep.
We're gonna consider. it
And that's like
unreasonable.
Mark said, that's how we've always handled it.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of allowed folks to kind of do it until we get a complaint, and then if we get a complaint, we consider that to be.
I mean, I think this year we may have two potential days that could be an issue. That would be Columbus and Veterans. Because these people are trying to get these things done.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be working. They will want to work on those days, I think.
And Sundays, in some cases.
And Sundays in some
And
cases.
Sundays, as long as it's unreasonable, they haven't asked for an exception.
Right. Yep. We're gonna be under this kind of pressure for a few years. Okay,
So should we go back up to the bond documents?
yep, there's a whole bunch of bond documents. I put the cover page off because I don't know. This is the first one that we've sold since you've been on the board, right?
Yeah.
So, the way that the bond bank does it is we have the premium. So the bond documents, you're gonna see 1,619,200. That's because there was a premium paid of 188,800. We actually get the 1.8 million in the bank. And so I just didn't want you to see a different number there. But that's what this is about. This is our
So
amortization.
the premium the lender pays in order to get to the business.
Yes.
Must-
Yes. Yeah. And this is, and then what happens is there's an interest rate on the bond notes that is going to be higher than the 3.38% that's on this. But when you total up all of the interest payments and the premium payments, it comes out to the same as the 1,619,200 at the lower interest rate. So,
I get it.
yep,
You approve, because if you approve and you get it, then I'll be happy. That's complicated.
yeah, it's financial shenanigans.
Let's not use that word. Complexity.
Well, I'm a board director, so I can.
Why do you make these things so?
Well, so we get really great rates, and I just gotta
Oh, well,
say
then, okay.
again, I think I said it before, but we had the best bond sale in the entire United States municipal bond market that week, so that was a very
We get like
3.38,
3.38,
3.38,
the days of 1 point something, long gone,
they're long gone.
long.
In fact, if we had sold these bonds a day later, the interest rate was 4.5. Wow.
I remember.
And they were 0.
Yeah, That's free money, take it.
Yes, we should have taken about $20 million.
While he's signing that, can I ask a question of something else?
Yeah.
So, when I look at the state of New Hampshire's, COVID report, town by town,
Mhm.
we are the only town in the state that doesn't report
Yes.
vaccinations.
Yeah, what happened, the percentages? Yeah, actually, it's us and the city of.
Littleton.
Okay, so, that is a result of, they are using as their baseline population to calculate the percentages. They're using the 2010 census data. For us, that means that, the base population they have is about 214, something like that, 215.
43.
But we actually have more people vaccinated than that. So they didn't want to put a percentage over 100%. So they just took us,
We're overachievers.
we're overachievers. It's
It's the craziest thing
ridiculous,
I've ever heard.
but
Yeah.
And then, but at one time, they actually did it, they did a calculation, or we did a calculation based on knowing how many
based on,
vaccinated people
based
we
on
had, what our
actual population,
was.
we were still well over, I think, what, 70-something%. We had a very good high vaccination rate on the people who were actually here.
Yeah.
But the state, we called, we asked them to use a different base number and they said no. So. Yeah, because the first time that report came out, we were pretty ticked off.
Mhm.
I think all COVID numbers are suspect in my mind for quite some time.
Just briefly, July 5th was the date of the founding of the Secret Service.
Oh, okay, we can honor the Secret Service.
There you go, we'll honor the secret. Service. We're-
It's also the day of
Another personal
independence for Venezuela.
No, well, we can hope for, they will get the independence someday.
And there are a bunch of things. All kinds of other.
Nothing good ones. Nothing good. So,
I think we should have Flag Day off. It's the Army's birthday.
so actually, there'd probably be a little discussion on the Primex, Bob, I think you'd want to listen to instead of concentrate on signing, so maybe we could just, I'm looking for something that, while people are signing that,
Is there anything else we need going in?
I think in the old business, we did the water crossing
Yesterday. yeah.
yesterday, we did the treatment upgrade project yesterday, wastewater current operations, we discussed that yesterday and today. New treatment plant project, road project, I think we discussed all of those already. Unless you have anything to add on any of those topics, all of them under old business, I think we've already
Yeah, I
disposed of
think
them
we're all set.
between yesterday and today. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, have a good night.
Thank you.
Well, I hope so.
We have another warrant to sign, the water sewer, we might as well get that going around.
Some of these were stacked right on top of one another.
You may want to double check, I think I got all mine too, but there were a lot of stuff.
Sure thing.
There you go, Bob, I want to sign this.
The Comstar data breach, Rich, if you want me to explain that
Sure.
briefly, the, we were made aware of a security breach with, at Comstar by Primex, our insurance carrier, and they recommended that we go ahead and file a claim on that just to protect any potential issues that might arise from that. So the firm representing Primex is sending out a letter to all of the folks who potentially could have been affected by that data breach. So anyone who was transported by ambulance from Waterville Valley to pretty much anywhere, right, Mark? Could have potentially had their personal protected information compromised. And so what the firm is doing on behalf of Primex is that they're giving all of those folks free credit monitoring through Equifax for a period of time to hopefully, detect any fraudulent.
Yeah, that's sort of a standard industry-wide.
Yeah, and the
Response
reason
these
that
days.
Primex contacted us is Comstar does business with other communities.
Oh, okay,
So-
right,
So they're covering basically any community that has Primex insurance coverage and uses Comstar, they're getting the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's a blanket process. It keeps us consistent with other communities, and because we filed a claim, it's a no amount claim at this point, but it just reserves our right in case any of us, any of the towns gets into a class action suit or anything like that from the folks who were affected by the damage. So. And then the board new appointments.
all right, so we have in front of us a proposed appointment of Jenny Lucas to the Conservation Commission, actually shifting her from alternate to full.
Yep.
I will make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye, okay, and for Cindy Picos, to join the Conservation Commission as an alternate. I will again make that motion.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Have you been in contact with Steve, is it Gaudet or Gaudet? How does he,
Got it.
Gaudet?
I have not yet.
Okay, because I think apparently he's expressed an interest to serve on some,
Well-
I thought we had talked, about he might have been interested in a board. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. We had a discussion about.
Well, it's municipal solid waste. He wanted, Eric had wanted to have him
Right,
participate in the recycling, citizens recycling group, which is
that's a
fine
private,
because
that's a private group, right?
that's a private group. But she also wanted him to serve on the municipal solid waste recycling subcommittee. But that's part of the municipal solid waste committee, so.
Right, you have to join it.
Yeah,
Well,
he'd have to be volunteering with them. Or just with them, I guess, he could, but he's not a member of the solid waste committee. So it
it
isn't
could be,
gonna
we
be
have an
anything.
alternate on there, we have the room on there.
I think we're full.
Okay,
I think the solid waste committee.
but we do allow people who are not members of the committee to serve on subcommittees.
Yeah, Mike has kind of just been allowing whoever's interested to serve.
Right,
It gets a little confusing as to who's a committee member, who's just showing up for, because they're interested in it.
okay, maybe the solid waste committee, then maybe we need to.
I think
that's-
you should,
And readdress that.
I think you should
At the next
readdress
meeting.
that with
Yeah.
Mike. And then we
yeah.
can bring Steve on. That's not a problem, or he's welcome to come to the meetings. Can
Yeah,
always provide input. There's a lot of folks who aren't members who are providing input.
I had his name associated with something like the ZBA, the planning board, but I guess I'm,
I don't remember that.
okay, so
I
I'm
don't remember
misremembering
his
something.
name.
Okay.
We'll
I'm
look back in
misremembering.
the records, maybe.
Patricia, it's been
I think
potential.
for previous.
Pat got it.
Yeah,
Patricia.
as an alternate.
She wanted to be on the.
She's on the ZBA.
ZBA, okay,
She's
that's
on
what I'm
the
getting
ZBA.
confused then.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, strike that then. Okay, All right, so everyone signed everything, I hope. There's one over here and one over there. If someone wants to check before we leave today. Make sure we got all our John Hancock. So let's head back up to 9C, the Primex multi-year agreement options.
We have done these in the past. It's a program that Primex was doing, stopped doing, or we walked away from it because it locked us in for 3 years
Right.
with Primex. The last time we tried to go to private insurance, it did not go well, so we begged our way back into Primex. Quite frankly, I don't see us leaving the pool anytime soon. I wouldn't recommend that we do. The private insurers are just, they're very difficult to keep up with, with the changes. We have the Travelers that gave us a great rate for 1 year and then, came back and almost doubled our premiums the next year.
Even
So
though we
thought we had
cap.
had a cap.
Is Primex a nonprofit?
Primex is our nonprofit pool of the municipalities in the state
Just the,
for property liability and
Just-
workers' comp.
for just the state?
Oh, and unemployment. It's all three insurances.
How much is their increase?
Oh, well, the capping, go ahead, teacher.
So yeah, they would be capping the workers' compensation insurance at not to exceed 10% annually, and property and liability at 9%. I did ask for some historical data. They went back to 2017 to show me what the increases have been. In 2017, we did have the cap in place, and property and liability was a 9% increase, and workers' comp was a 10% increase.
So right to the cap.
2018, where we did not have a cap in place, property and liability 2.6%, workers' comp was 11.1% increase. 2019, 6.2% on the property and liability and 8.1% on the workers' comp. Again, no cap in place that year. 2020 was when we elected to terminate coverage. Effective January 1, 2021, we saw an increase in the property and liability of 13.7%, and workers' comp decreased by 8%.
All over the map.
Yeah.
So how do, so if it's nonprofit, how do they determine rates?
They have a board and they have actuaries that set the rates based on your loss experience. It gets evaluated.
And we had a period in there where we had some.
Yeah,
pretty
we had
serious
2
accidents.
big workers' comp claims and we had a couple of property liability claims that were pretty big. So we have been all over the map.
Mhm.
Because when we have even just one person go out for an extended period of time, it just kills our loss experience. So, and that usually stays with us, I think, 3 to 5 years in our experience evaluation. So that is part of why you're seeing the big swings.
Mhm.
And why you're seeing the swings like in workers' comp, but not in property liability. It's just
On a particular.
been our loss experience. So I really think Primex is our best choice. I do like the cap because they will still evaluate us based on loss. And we can see an amount less than the cap.
So do they have to get approved by the insurance commissioner of the state or something for whatever their increase they're gonna do? I mean, who holds their feet to the fire?
Well, yes, they're evaluated by the insurance commissioner, but the rates are set by the members. So there's a representative board that sets the rates.
And do we do any safety prevention among our staff?
We have a safety committee. And so that's part of our requirement
And Primex, I'm learning, Bob, seems like a really good resource for training materials,
And
videos.
we do
We used
have,
them in the
we
past.
do have great,
Management training,
leadership
those kind of
training.
things.
yeah.
Website's easy to navigate and find all that
Yeah.
material.
We've had quite a long experience with them actually,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just got mad at them the one year when they gave us an astronomical quote.
Yeah.
And we said, well,
Is
it's
that
time
it?
to look and see if anybody else is out there.
And Travelers did okay for us for a year.
Right.
And they did the same thing to us, so
Right.
we went back to Parkers.
Right.
And they've been good on the claim side. On,
Yeah,
Payouts.
they're pretty easy to file a claim with, and they have the typical insurance no
right,
upfront, and then
right.
you
The
provide them
answer
with the
is no, not
information.
change my
and-
mind.
That's right, so, yeah,
They did depict some holiday, they call them, premium holiday credits.
they have done that. So if we overpay, right, as a group, as a big group, they will write us a check at the end of the year and send that back to us. So,
$22,000
yeah,
in two thousand
we've had
18,
huge checks come back to us.
6,009.
So what are limits, liability limits?
They're statutory, they vary for the different categories, but they're set by state statute for municipalities.
Oh, really?
And they cover us to those statutory limits.
And, and on the employees, is it by employee category?
Yeah, we're
Rated-
evaluated just like anyone
Or rated
else's
by category?
workers' comp, yeah. And most of our people there's DPW mostly are in the laborer categories that you would see in any other business.
And
Um,
are we
Except
able-
for our trash guys are a little bit higher, I think, and our police officers and firefighters.
Are we able to, if they have to do an audit yearly?
Yeah, they do an annual audit.
And we can challenge a category for an employee,
Yeah, generally
Like-
their audits, go ahead,
like Jim, for instance, is he a
Yeah.
supervisor or is he a?
he's a supervisor,
Department.
a department. Yeah. We have not had to challenge. What they will do is make sure that, because we have to estimate our payroll to them each year. So the audit is basically a true up between what we pay and the premiums that we pay. But we have not, if there's been anything that we've owed them, in my experience, they've rolled it into the next year. But with these premium holidays, we haven't seen any additional payments due. I mean, I think we're pretty, I hate to even say it out loud, but we're pretty safe. And our guys do a pretty good job. We have pretty good loss experience. We've just had some weird things happen.
When's the last time we had a bad claim?
Richard, wasn't it?
Richard's workers' comp claim when he twisted his knee or hip or
It was his
something.
ankle, wasn't
Or
it?
ankle.
That's
yeah. He broke something really bad and he was out. for a
Was that
couple of
20?
months.
Oh,
That was 21. 20,
okay, so
20 or
it's,
early
21.
21.
okay, so it's still subject to that.
Yeah. So workers' comp will be hit. And then before that, it was probably Nate's accident with the mower
With the mower going over on.
going on his
Yeah.
foot. And so, those kinds of things where the person's out 2 or 3 months or more. Can be bad.
So Mark, you are proposing that we accept. You're recommending that we accept the proposal.
Yeah,
for
I
a
mean, I
multi-year.
just don't see any options for the private sector insurance companies to be, have us have any interest in going out to that market.
But we can stay year to year if you wanted. to
You
with
could stay
Primex.
year to year and then you don't have the cap, and I
Right.
think in the current environment,
The
rates
cap
are
is a
probably
good
gonna be
idea.
higher than the cap.
Okay, so.
So I
anyone
would take the
discussion?
So are there some years when we've had the cap and we've been charged less?
Bob went back to 2017. I think we engaged in a contract with them in 16. They didn't provide me with the 16 data. So the only data I saw was 2017 where we had the cap in place. And that's, in that year, it met the cap on both
You said the
sides.
cap.
Yep, on both.
But we had losses. That was around Nate's, Nate's
Yeah.
accident time. So on the workers' comp side, I know for sure that we had a big claim. So
So we don't have any history that they,
I think
they undercharge us.
well, we used the CAP program prior to that, like in the early 2000s and the early 2010s. And we've had years where we have been less than CAP.
And you mentioned too that we had a premium payback a few years in there, 22,000, 6,000,
And 9,000.
9,000, so.
Any further discussion? Does someone want to propose accepting a cap?
So move that we go with the 3-year cap program with Primex.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, and I see everybody's signature on that, so that's good.
Okay, just more. Where's the signature? Yeah. Just me? You just want me to sign?
Yes.
Fine.
All righty, moving along, board concerns and directives. I have one very quick one. Anyone else have any first? It was mentioned at the community and business forum yesterday that since the resort is getting around now that they're down at the conference center to working on, as we can see, town square, the question arose about when was the town going to paint the ice arena.
Okay,
So I just
I
wanted to
don't
raise
know
that.
yet.
Is that in the CIP?
no.
That is not in the CIP.
Jim was coordinating that. Let me see.
Should that not be in this? Yeah, that's probably an expensive, no, it's not that. Doesn't raise to the usual
I don't think. so.
several $100,000.
No, it will definitely not be in
No.
the several $100,000 range.
And one person thought instead of just a basic red, perhaps we might want to consider a mural or paintings on the side of the building.
That is a big building.
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to be the farmhouse with the red barn. So,
Okay,
So the only example that I would point to on the mural was the one that was done in the clock tower, which was lovely, but needed to be maintained.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
right,
gets-
once you get
it
a
gets
mural, you
messy.
gotta
yeah,
keep on
that's
going.
that's
You gotta keep on going back to it. Okay, so but that is we are looking at that already.
yeah.
All right, fair enough.
We'll try to. get that. I don't know if you want to go into non-public, but
No
the
correspondence?
housing, the correspondence was limited, just the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
Yeah.
We're getting the second half of our ARPA,
A big
funds.
$12,500
$12,000.
2010 census.
Right, out of the 1.9 trillion or whatever it
Yes.
was, we
We
got.
got $25,000 paid in 2 equal installments of
Based on our
$12,500.
population in 2010, yeah.
So we spent that in about 4 minutes, so, but yeah, that was the only thing.
Okay, so,
The other question that I have, kind of correspondence wise, is Tim Smith is hosting a meeting up at the ski area with the Forest Service, and Tom Gross and myself, regarding workforce housing.
mhm,
So do we have this conversation? I have so many different groups, but so the Forest Service contacted the resort and told them that part of the mission of the National Forest is to provide the land for workforce housing. And asked the resort if there was any interest in potentially doing here in Moorland Valley. So I guess we're having a meeting to kind of get some facts around, you know, what exactly is allowed to be done and, you know, what might be available. And I don't know if there's federal funding available for it. It is not, I think I told you, it's not part of a $100 million plan, the governor's fund for housing. So,
I ran into Tim and Jason,
Justin.
just,
down at the bedroom of coffee, and they were discussing that, and I ended up talking to him a little bit about it.
okay, good.
I was surprised that they have a program like that now.
Yeah, yeah, so, you know, James Sununu had mentioned it to me and, you know, looking at some areas, there's the old incinerator site that's flat and, you know, wouldn't take as much site work, maybe to get a building or two on there. But they can also connect it right into the cross-country trails. He was worried about a pedestrian bridge to get across, and I pointed out to him that they just cross over Triple I Road and get onto the trail, they can go right down to the Mad River Bridge behind Tyler
Swans
Springs.
Way, or what is that? That's the village.
No, no, not that far up. I'm talking
Further
about
down.
connecting in right at the new bridge that we put in after I moved,
Oh, okay.
behind Tyler Spring. They've got a trail that goes
Right.
right just at the end
Swans
of
Way.
the Triple I Bridge. Is that Swans Way?
Yeah, but the old incinerator to the other side of the river.
Right, it's only, yes. So, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it correctly. So the incinerator site is over here, Triple I Road, right? And then there are a series of trails that
Right.
go down.
Swans
along-
That's
Way,
Swans
Is that
Upper Mad
Swans
River.
Way?
That's Swans Way.
All right,
Yeah.
so I just.
And
didn't
Upper
know.
Mad River.
Upper Man.
Upper
right.
Mad River.
Because
So they can
Lower
use
Mad
River, that little
those
circle there.
existing
Right.
trails to
Yeah.
get down to the bridge, cross over the bridge. Right, and they're right behind Tyler Spring, and they can walk along the other trails into Town Square. So it'd be very easy access to town from that area. Or they can run their buses in the winter or whatever they want to do. But I can't think of any other spot that's really buildable.
You got the corner lot.
Well, the corner lot that would be the real ideal, but I wouldn't
What
want that
about
as
right up at the mountain?
because
They keep talking about closing down this campground.
who does?
The Forest Service talks about closing down this campground across the way, right?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
They haven't.
No, that's one of their
Talking
business.
about it.
That's one of their, were they talking about it?
At one time,
Really? Okay.
They may,
I
once we
know.
put our new wastewater treatment facility across the road.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, may not be.
yeah. And the odor.
Big blowing fans. Yeah. But I think the corner lot, we'd much rather see a land swap where that becomes private land. It could be used for housing. But I don't, rather than keep it in Forest Service possession, I think we should encourage to get that turned over to private land. And then try to build this somewhere else. For us.
The larger point is that there are,
There are lots around, there are
There is.
places, yeah,
as you like to say, 700,000 acres or something.
absolutely.
And
They could put it off the parking lot out of Livermore.
Hey, you know, a really unique thing, what about Depot Camp? Just
Yeah,
rebuild the
exactly.
camp,
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being radical.
so you're gonna attend the meeting and.
Yeah, I'm gonna go,
That's
I'll
great.
attend the meeting and let you know how that goes.
Yeah, I mean,
workforce housing.
What is that?
I think that is a good point, Tom. Among many. Okay, I see, we had talked yesterday about having a non-public agenda, but we've already been at this since 2:15. I don't think we need to, we were gonna think about,
Were we talking about the land purchase?
yeah, do you wanna talk about it
You wanna talk
non-public
about it?
or now, or do you wanted to put it off for another couple of weeks?
Okay.
I'm okay, or.
All right, well, do I have a motion to go in non-public?
Someone,
Second? All in favor? Aye. We are now, that would be at